Welcome to Farming Aid.
When most people think of American breeds, names like the Quarter Horse or Labrador Retriever probably come to mind. But the U.S. is also home to some incredibly rare and unique breeds that hardly anyone has heard of. These animals have fascinating histories, from surviving harsh landscapes to carrying on cultural traditions, and many of them are on the brink of disappearing forever. In this video, we're diving into 5 of the rarest American breeds, dogs, cattle, sheep, and pigs, that are not just unusual, but a living piece of America's heritage. Stick around, because some of these breeds might surprise you, and their stories are worth knowing. One of the most fascinating and rare breeds that originated in the United States is the Alapaha Blue Blood Bulldog. This muscular, rare dog has roots that stretch back to the earliest European settlers in the Southeast, where Old English bulldogs were brought to the New World. Over time, these dogs were shaped by isolated breeding on southern farms and plantations, evolving into a distinct type known locally for its strength and toughness. The Alapaha Blue Blood Bulldog is a striking animal, with a broad chest, powerful shoulders, and a brachycephalic muzzle that gives it a distinct and memorable face. Its coat is typically short and glossy, often white with patches of black, blue, buff, or brown. These dogs are unusual not just for how they look, but for how few of them there are. Estimates today suggest there are only around 120 to 150 of these dogs in existence, making them one of the rarest canine breeds in the United States. Their scarcity is not simply a matter of obscurity, it reflects a long period during which they existed largely outside formal breed recognition and registry systems. Dedicated families maintained the line for generations, often using them as guard dogs and working animals on farms before anyone bothered to document or preserve the bloodline formally. The story of the Alapaha Blue Blood Bulldog is a window into a time when breed standards were informal and practical traits mattered more than registry papers. In contrast to the compact muscular dog is a breed of sheep that once roamed wild on a remote piece of California's Channel Islands, the Santa Cruz Sheep. This rare domestic breed traces its origins to animals brought to Santa Cruz Island in the 19th century, likely Merino, Rambouillet, or Choctaw types that were left to fend for themselves. Over decades, these sheep became feral and adapted to the harsh island environment, evolving into a hardy, small-bodied breed well suited to the rugged terrain and limited forage. The wool they produced was thick and resilient, and once the island's natural beauty and ecology became a priority for conservationists, efforts were made to protect and preserve the remaining animals. Today the Santa Cruz sheep are critically endangered, with fewer than 200 individuals known to exist. Their story is a testament to how a breed can drift toward oblivion when human priorities change faster than animal populations can adapt. At present, these sheep are primarily valued for their unique genetic heritage and the cultural history they represent, a living reminder of earlier agricultural practices and the island's forgotten pastoral era. Another rare and historically important American breed is the American Milking Devon, a cattle breed whose lineage dates back to some of the very first cattle brought to North America by European settlers. Known originally simply as Devon cattle, these animals were valued for being triple-purpose stock in early colonial times. They provided draft power, milk for the household, and meat for the table. Over time, as cattle breeding in the United States became more specialized, Devon cattle were increasingly bred for beef rather than their versatile heritage. This shift led to a decline in the number of cattle kept as dual-purpose dairy and beef producers. A group of breeders set out to preserve the older type, and in 1978 the American Milking Devon Cattle Association was formed, establishing a separate breed standard that emphasized the dual-purpose traits of milk production and beef quality. These cattle are physically robust, with a deep red coat and medium-sized horns, and they thrive in pasture-based systems with minimal human intervention. Despite their adaptability and historical importance, the American Milking Devon is now listed as critical by conservation organizations, meaning its population remains dangerously low. In recent years, enthusiast breeders have worked to increase numbers, but total headcounts remain in the low hundreds. The American Milking Devon represents a living link to the earliest days of American agriculture, a breed that helped sustain families long before modern industrial farming. Sheep lovers and historians also know the Navajo-Churro, a breed that carries deep cultural significance for the Dine people, commonly known as the Navajo. This breed descended from Spanish Churro sheep that arrived in the Southwest with Spanish colonists in the 16th century. Over centuries of careful breeding by indigenous shepherds, these sheep adapted to the arid ranges of the American Southwest, developing traits that helped them survive extreme temperatures, scarce water, and rugged terrain. One of the most remarkable features of the Navajo-Churro is the occasional presence of 4 fully developed horns in rams, a trait shared by only a handful of sheep breeds globally. Their wool is distinctive, consisting of a coarse protective outer coat and a soft undercoat. Navajo-Churro wool has traditionally been used for weaving blankets and other textiles, holding both practical and ceremonial importance in Navajo culture. These sheep are also hardy, disease-resistant animals with strong mothering instincts, and they often bear twins, making them efficient reproducers under harsh conditions. Despite their resilience and cultural value, the breed declined sharply in the 20th century due to changes in agricultural practices and market pressures favoring other sheep breeds. Today they are considered at risk, and concerted conservation efforts by indigenous breeders and heritage livestock supporters aim to secure a future for them. The story of the Navajo-Churro is as much about cultural preservation as it is about animal breeding, illustrating the deep interconnection between people and the livestock that sustain them. Not far behind in terms of rarity is another livestock breed with deep historical roots in the American Southeast. The Choctaw hog. This breed descends from pigs brought to the Americas by Spanish explorers and colonists in the 16th century. For centuries, these swine were kept by Native American tribes, European settlers, and other inhabitants of the Southeast, making them one of the oldest livestock breeds in the country. The Choctaw hog lived in close relationship with the Choctaw people in particular, who relied on them for meat and lard. In the early 19th century, when the Choctaw Nation was forcibly relocated to what became Oklahoma, these animals were brought along, further solidifying their identity as a regional breed tied to indigenous history. Like many heritage breeds, the Choctaw hog suffered a precipitous decline in the 20th century as industrial pork production favored a narrow set of standardized breeds. Today the American Livestock Breeds Conservancy lists the Choctaw hog as critically rare, with only a few hundred individuals remaining. They are small to medium in size compared to commercial hogs, and their historical temperament and foraging ability make them well suited to pasture-based systems and small farms seeking to maintain heritage genetics. Preserving the Choctaw hog is not just about saving an old breed, it is about honoring and maintaining a living part of American indigenous heritage and agricultural history. While many people think of cattle, sheep, and dogs when they think about animal breeds, it's worth mentioning that pigs too have a fascinating diversity of types, and one of the most unusual is the Mulefoot hog, a breed that stands apart from almost every other swine breed on the planet. Unlike most pigs, which have cloven hooves, the Mulefoot's hooves are solid and resemble those of a mule, hence the name. This unusual trait is not a cosmetic quirk but a true genetic marker that distinguishes the breed. Historically, such pigs were likely brought to the Gulf Coast region by Spanish explorers, but exactly when and how these animals developed into a distinct breed is unclear. Today the Mulefoot hog is critically rare, recognized by heritage livestock organizations as one of the most endangered swine breeds in the United States. Their stock is typically black, sometimes showing patches of white, with erect floppy ears and a long snout that lends them a somewhat primitive appearance reminiscent of wild boar. Sows are known for good mothering instincts and moderate litter sizes, and the breed overall is well adapted to outdoor, pasture-based systems. Efforts to conserve and expand Mulefoot numbers have grown in recent years among heritage breed enthusiasts and small farmers who value their unique genetics and hardiness. These animals are a reminder that even within a species as familiar as the domestic pig, remarkable variation can arise and persist against the odds. Each of these breeds carries a story about adaptation, survival, and changing human relationships with animals. The Alapaha Blue Blood Bulldog reflects a time when dogs were bred for practical roles. In isolated rural communities long before official recognition mattered. The Santa Cruz Sheep reveal how environmental isolation and feral life can shape a breed into something singular, and how human stewardship can be critical to its survival. The American Milking Devon stands as a living link to the earliest colonial farms, a reminder that modern agriculture was built on the backs of dual-purpose, resilient animals. The Navajo-Churro embodies cultural heritage and the bond between a people and their livestock, while the Choctaw hog connects us to centuries of indigenous history in the Southeast. Finally, the Mulefoot hog challenges our assumptions about what a pig should look like, proving that nature and human influence together can produce truly unusual forms. In a world where agricultural and pet breeding often chase novelty and uniformity, these rare breeds remind us of the value inherent in diversity and history. Each one is a chapter in the broader story of American animal husbandry, one that expands our understanding of how breeds develop, adapt, and sometimes teeter on the brink of extinction. Recognizing and preserving them is not merely an act of nostalgia. It protects genetic diversity and acknowledges the cultural, ecological, and historical threads that these animals represent. For those curious about the less visible corners of American animal heritage, these breeds are worth knowing, celebrating, and in many cases actively supporting through conservation and awareness. These 5 rare American breeds show just how diverse and fascinating our country's animal heritage really is. From dogs to cattle, sheep, and pigs, each one has a unique story of survival, adaptation, and history that's worth preserving. By learning about them, we not only celebrate their uniqueness but also help ensure these incredible breeds don't disappear forever. If you enjoyed discovering these hidden gems, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment telling us which breed surprised you the most. We'd love to hear your thoughts.